I recently posted a video with some Call of Duty gameplay in which I put up an insane score. 177 kills, multiple 20+ kill streaks, and watching that footage, despite the fact that I captured this match nearly 3 years ago, just sitting on my hard drive since January of 2022, I felt like a god. I remember the gaming session this was captured during, though I don't remember the exact match. Regardless, I feel really good about myself watching that back. If challenged, I can't say that my performance in any game matters to me as a person, yet it's just oh so satisfying seeing myself do well. That is kind of a problem. It's a big problem that affects way too many gamers, and only this year, as I'm in my early 30s, have I finally started breaking the habit and shifting my mindset away from this. It took half of my life to reach this point, and with all that work, seeing myself in this position risks undoing all of my hard work. You see, for all of the good that these high-performing matches or clips montages of high-octane first-person shooters may make us feel, the negative feelings that also spawn from this are just as low, if not lower, than how high the good may go. There's no denying that a successful multiplayer gaming session can make you feel good. The adrenaline, the satisfaction of everything clicking into place, the thrill of clicking heads, the camaraderie of collaborating as a team if you're not solo queuing, and the in-game rewards of kill streaks, extra experience, ranking up, and making progress on unlocks. Dopamine can run wild here. This is a big part of what makes multiplayer gaming so appealing to many of us. The problem is, we cannot predict or control how a multiplayer gaming session will go. We can practice, we can warm up, we can build up game sense and map knowledge, but we can't control the factors that direct our experience in the moment. Especially for those of us who use gaming as an outlet and an escape and a way to let off steam after a long day of work or stress or whatever. We might be tired, less focused, not warmed up, not in the best mood. We can't all be primed esports professionals with the perfect level of alertness and well-rested on a perfect diet. Inevitably, we see a video with a great match, remember some of our best moments or watch some of our top clips, and we want to jump right back in. I experienced this after making the video with that 2022 high-scoring gameplay. Without even thinking, I thought, man, that was fun. I love doing well in a game like that. Let's do that again. Just, without direct words to it. And I had started to install COD 4X again. I had just started clicking install on Steam when I caught myself and realized this was happening. Why did I stop? I'm exhausted. I've not slept well this week. I can't even really focus and play right now. I'm sitting with my kiddo, and we're going to a family event in a couple of hours. The population is low these days in this game, and I haven't played in months. This is not a recipe to jump in, get my thrills in, and get my fix, and continue my day. Instead, what would happen is I'd try to sneak on amongst everything else going on. I'd be unfocused, probably playing without any sound, and I'd have a pretty bad experience. Instead of being content with just watching some of my past good moments, I would be in a much worse place. I would feel bad about myself, and frustrated. Even worse, I would probably continue to seek out those feelings even more. Perhaps jumping back in the next day or switching games entirely, some way to continue chasing that high at the cost of my own enjoyment. This has been happening since the dawn of multiplayer shooters.
Maps like this tend to make me frustrated, and I don't want to lose my cool, because when you lose your cool, you sort of make poor decisions, and that results in you dying more, and etc., etc., etc. And
that feeling bad about myself bit is something that is extremely common among people who primarily play multiplayer games, but it's rarely thought about, nevertheless actually named and thought about deeply. The cycle of multiplayer gaming appeals directly to your ego. That sense of competition and performance directly affects your sense of self-esteem and self-importance. The entire concept of competitive multiplayer gaming is based around your performance being important to the outcome. It's basically impossible not to deal with this on some level when playing competitive multiplayer games, especially shooters. For a lot of people, getting a taste of performing well and the in-game reward cycle that comes with it, kill streaks, ultimate abilities, plays of the game, unlocks and rank increases, makes them feel good. It boosts esteem, it gives a sense of accomplishment, and encourages one to keep coming back. Just one more game. At the same time, performing poorly in the game and not receiving those dopamine trickling rewards makes them feel bad about themselves. They're not rewarded for their efforts, their brains are primed to receive new dopamine and then are being deprived of it. Their self-esteem takes a hit, they feel discouraged, but not necessarily discouraged from playing more. Instead, that craving for reward pushes them to keep trying, despite the negative feelings that continue to scale. Whenever you encounter someone in a game who's especially tilted, who starts yelling in voice chat or all caps in text chat, or who's quick to be toxic and put others down, or to blame everything from teammates to bugs to lag to campers to the game itself for their performance, this is what's happening. Their ego has been injured, their expectations are not being met, and the negative feelings are compounding. And they're just plain having a bad time. Their self-image is damaged as a result of this. And we as humans do not handle that very well. It's very difficult to have the self-awareness required to deal with this. It's too easy to blame external forces or factors than to accept that maybe now isn't the time and to step back and take a break. Tragically, the more you push when you're already tilted, the less likely you are to get what you want, and the more you're going to have negative associations with the experience. This is how so many gamers seem absolutely glued to their multiplayer games, yet simultaneously seem to hate them as well. I find it fascinating to recognize these feelings in myself, as I've been working hard on myself to step away from this cycle. I've spent a lot of time avoiding multiplayer gaming this year, and instead spending my time with more meaningful single-player or shared gaming experiences with my family. It's a completely different world of experiences. The truth is, that craving for adrenaline-pushing performance and competitive success is not met through this. Though you can get close by succeeding at especially challenging moments in some games, like a tough timing level in a game like Lunistis, or an especially tough boss in a Souls-like game. But instead, you're given an experience that feels rewarding nearly every time. There's different rewards and positive feelings you get from completing standard single-player or story-focused games, and rarely do they have to impact your ego. Instead, they reward you for progress, for completion, for decision-making, and for just spending your time on something that doesn't make you mad in the first place. You can still feel accomplished without relying on external rewards. You can still get tilted with a particularly challenging level or boss, but resilience builds a lot more easily when you're more consistently rewarded for your efforts and for finding new ways to win. If you think you've been stuck in this kind of toxic, egocentric cycle with multiplayer gaming, I highly recommend you take the feelings test I discussed with BBK Dragoon in the Comm podcast. Enjoy this clip. So I am going to share an image with you, and we will show this on screen. It is from a thread on r/gaming about someone trying to find alternative games for their kiddo to Roblox. And someone shared their process as they worked through it, and they set their kid down and talked about how Roblox made him feel, how he feels when he's done, how he feels when he doesn't play, and he talked about it before he played and then after he played, and recognized that the feelings didn't entirely align. And last night, I had this same realization as I am looking for a game to play. I had a rare solo night where I could play a game, and I start opening up multiplayer shooters. And of course, they all take forever to load in. And I loaded like 2 different ones before I realized that it just wasn't what I wanted to do. Because I opened the game and I had that feeling of like, I'm going to get in and I'm going to click some heads and it's going to be great. And then I realized it's probably not going to be that great. And I don't want that feeling afterwards of feeling disappointed or let down or not as great as I wanted compared to a single player game.
I really like that idea. So basically, it's a before and after test. How you feel going in, and then a quick test. It's like the exit poll of the gaming session, basically, right? Wow. Okay, so with the multiplayer side, I think what's tough is we go in thinking about all the best memories and moments and clips we've gotten with a game.
Yes.
Thinking I want to go have that. I want to go have that experience. And then probably 3 matches in, the first game, your teammate disconnected. The second game, you went super positive and carried 3 people who went incredibly negative. The fourth game, they're dropping slurs and nonsense in the chat. And maybe the fifth game, it crashed.
Yep.
And all of a sudden, you're like, well, I had an hour to play, and this hour really didn't give me any semblance of that feeling. It's funny that parent did that, because we don't really do that.
We don't.
Really, we don't make that intentional step, do we?
No, and you think about how tilted you can get when you're just like, all right, I just, that feeling of I need to stay on for just one more. The next one will be good. Surely the next one will be great, and I can end on a high note. Or worse yet, if you actually get one of those good games and you're like, all right, we can keep it going. The next, we'll just keep, this one was great. The next one will be great. And especially with the way the modern systems are at play, any high is met with almost an equal low, if not more.
Yep.
And we don't take care of ourselves in that way.
What did you end up playing? Like, did you continue multiplayer shooters, or did you just end the session? Like, I'm assuming it wasn't a very fun session.
It wasn't. I basically started a match and was just like, nope, this isn't what I actually wanted. And it's interesting because, and this is why I always compare multiplayer gaming to solo queue multiplayer gaming. If you're jumping in with a group of friends, it's very different than solo queue. Just like, I got a couple hours, or a couple minutes, I'm gonna jump in. But it's why I always compare it to fast food, because you crave it. You want to just be like, all right, I'm gonna jump in, I'm gonna play a team deathmatch, and I'm gonna go 30-0, and it's gonna be great. Like, you want that thrill, you want that sweet thing, you want the salty snack, but it has just as likely of a chance to make you not feel great. And so I loaded it up. I was like, I haven't played in forever, which is another red flag if I only have a short amount of time, because it's going to take a lot of warm-up time to start doing great. But I was like, I haven't played in forever. This is going to be great. And as soon as I got into a match, I was like, I don't think this is going to be what I want. And so I actually wound up, and this is something we'll talk about in a later segment, I wound up just playing Halo Infinite's campaign, because I've never actually played it all the way through. But there's that difference of it's so much more rare for you to have a negative outcome with a single player game. Like, yeah, if you're playing something that's super like high difficulty, super rough, and like you're just batting your head against the wall trying to beat a boss or something, sure, you can have that moment. But broadly speaking, single player games are designed for you to win ultimately. Like, you are going to accomplish something, even if it's small, and feel a sense of progress, a sense of accomplishment, versus a 50-50 engagement optimized ratio.
There it is. I'm about to dump the spice into the mix here, and people are going to get mad. I think, look, there's nothing wrong with skill-based matchmaking. I have issues with engagement optimized matchmaking. Once the hidden figure behind the curtain is pulling your strings, ensuring that you have X type of experience that is psychologically designed to keep you playing longer, with the full intent to get you to buy more stuff within the game, that's not fun, and I believe it is tangible. I believe players can feel it and understand it when they're being sort of manipulated by that hidden hand. I will always go back to Halo 3. There's a social set of playlists and a ranked set of playlists. Yep. And you knew going in what type of experience you were going to have. I am totally fine in a social playlist environment having very loose skill-based matchmaking and recognizing you're going to have some matches where you dominate, some where you get crushed, and some that are even. And then in ranked, you're going to search longer, it's going to be sweaty, and you're going in with people matching that mindset. I don't want to sweat 24/7. It's not about beating up on easier players. It's about going in and having a fun experience where everybody loves to come back in and defend the argument of you just want to beat up on easier players. And that's not the truth. I want experiences where new people who've never tried Halo online or a multiplayer shooter online can come in and have a good time and have some guardrails. But that's not really what we're talking about here. The treadmill of 50% win-loss, because it is psychologically proven to keep you going on, maybe just one more game, maybe just a little bit longer playtime, that has nothing to do with the player's best interest. It
Nope.
literally is for the shareholders to see an engagement stat, which translates into how much money they made in the shop.
I think a big disconnect when we have this conversation now, because it's gone on so long, is people don't realize how differently priorities were when you were playing a game like Halo 3 in a social playlist or context compared to now. Because every game now, pretty much, not literally every game, but, most of the major multiplayer games now are so focused on just the pure, raw, competitive esport, optimized whatever. When you queued up in Halo 3 social, yeah, you you were playing to win sometimes, most of the time even, but you also went in there and it was a sandbox. You went in there to voice chat. You would end up doing some weird role play thing where someone's just suddenly like, I'm going to be Sergeant Johnson. Let's all get in the Warthog and just drive around and, try to hide behind their base instead of actually shooting them. Or you got, like you said, the player who's never played before and who's asking what these things are, and you're like walking them through it, or you're trolling them and you're like, yeah, if you go pick up the invisibility, then it's actually invulnerability, you'll be fine, and then they get killed or something. Like, there's so much more dynamic experiences you have in a sandbox where you're just derping around having fun, and you also get the experience of playing the multiplayer game. Like, if I play split screen with my buddies back when, we didn't have a whole lot of online play and we were playing Halo 2, Halo 3, whatever, sure, we'd have our matches where I'm like, all right, be ours, we're going to fight. I'm going to try to win. I'm going to lose, whatever. But also we'd just explore the map and we'd bounce around and we'd try trick shots and things like that. And you could have that in a sandbox with other people that you're meeting for the first time and partying up and doing other things. And that gets stripped away when it's all rank focused. And like you said, we know that skill-based matchmaking is present in some capacity in those playlists just because you have a degree of a rank to try to kind of coax you. But the experience was a lot more laid back because it's not, like you said, it's not, I want to go stomp on some noobs, I want to pub stomp. I think the Call of Duty YouTube scene kind of portrayed that a lot in the early days where, you had your big Call of Duty YouTubers that just queue pubs and go flawless or whatever. But for a lot of us, I equally want the freedom to be stomped on without making a team of sweaty people angry.
Yeah.
I want to be able to go into a game kind of sleepy. I've had a long day. I just want to relax and be in a familiar mechanical and map environment, and it be okay that I suck.
Yeah.
I want to suck. I don't want to just pub stomp. I want the freedom to suck and not have 10 different people screaming at me because they're 3 hours into their sweat session and this is make or break for them for ruining their night or something because they've been so fueled by this.
I loved Splitgate 1, dude. I played so much Splitgate 1 because it really was like this. You would have games where you stomped. You'd have some kind of even games, but then you'd run into like a solid player who knew what they were doing.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe you'd just keep bumping into him. It wasn't a huge like player base. It's really fun.
You develop rivalries, invite each other to like 1v1s or just like go hide everyone in one spot of the map and have the one person that isn't in the like in-group running around and be like, where'd everybody go?
Okay, so thinking back to the split screen days, I don't know if this is relevant, but if you had your group of buddies over at the house and you were playing Halo 3 or Halo 2 and it's like a local match, not multiplayer online, let's say there's 4 people there, right? And you just keep running back FFAs or whatever. In any group, there's going to be the superstar, the player that dunks on everybody else. And it's kind of irritating. You're just sort of like, okay, he's going to win every time, right? They're going to just take us out and it's kind of going to be the same results. You kind of get tired of running that kind of match over and over again. Unless you're training, unless there's the goal of like, I'm playing somebody better, I want to improve. Everybody sort of knows how the hierarchy falls in that friend group. Like, I'm going to be second, this dude's going to be first, that guy's going to be fourth because he still doesn't even know how to like pick up a weapon off the map or whatever.
Yep.
And I feel like the modern SBMM model is you are playing the same kind of players all day and night.
Yes.
over and over again. And that same match, that same experience, I'm bored of it, you know? I believe that's why when we have that free time, the players who did boot up Social Halo 3 to have just a relaxing time or to have that freedom to play, maybe not their best that day, now they're playing Helldivers 2, or they're playing Deep Rock Galactic, or a single player experience. I think you've seen a lot of people who used to play multiplayer stuff just go, look, it's not the same, it's not for me. I'm going to go to something that is fun. So that at the end of the hour, when they do that test, the feelings test, they can literally be like, yeah, that was a pretty fun hour, and I got to choose how I spent that hour.
For more deep gaming discussions, be sure to subscribe and check out that Dual Comm podcast, linked below. Remember to be kind, rewind.